Tom Workin drops in with $2. This is an interesting question, actually, or statement. Sorry, it says Kaiju Resurgence could replace the superhero crap. What do we think of that? Could giant monster movies, kaiju movies, replace the superhero crap? I mean, we saw fantastic results with Godzilla -1.
Well, yeah, Toho, yes.
Last year into this year. Now they're making a Godzilla -1 minus color, so black and white version. We are, however, getting Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire, but that still has its market. It's a younger demographic. What do you think? Could it replace superhero crap?
As much as I'd love it, no.
I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna go out on a limb here today because I was writing it
already. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I was writing a script outline for a video I'm doing here this week. Not a proper script because I don't need a proper script, but I was writing it out, and I noted that horror films are niche, quote unquote, but they make bank. They cost nothing to make, and they make boatloads of cash. Boatloads, truckloads. So if you were looking for a way to make a lot of money in Hollywood and you only had to spend $20 a picture, why doesn't Toho make like 1,000 Godzilla movies that are that good? They have the right guy. And if you're making good horror films, make a boatload of them. You know, they just make money. It doesn't take much to get there. That's the whole thing.
Well, I do wonder. I think a lot of Godzilla -1s. I mean, look, a lot of people wanted to watch it opening weekend. The reason why it did so well over time was good word of mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you're right. To be fair, like I think Toho, if they had the right thing is, you're always going to have the right story. Could you dilute it? I mean, if there was a way to always have the right story.
So I think there's two problems. Is that Godzilla -1, whereas it is by definition a kaiju movie, that's not the primary thing that makes it good. And if they start pushing in that direction of I'm saying, if they start pushing that direction, just more monsters, more this, you're getting away from the thing that made it such a great film. Number two, I don't think that it's going to replace the superhero genre because I think that that's already happening with the impending Nintendo video game verse. That's going to be the next thing that's going to build on
either.
But I think that that's going to, whether or not that's going to be as successful as the MCU was and stuff, probably not. I don't think anything will ever do that again. That's such a lightning in a bottle kind of thing. But I think that's I think that is the next, like, you know, thing to replace the top. It's gonna they'll drain that of all they can do. I think kaiju films, especially Godzilla, will always have its thing. It's been around for how many 80 years now or whatever. Like, you know, I think it will always be around. I just don't think it's going to rise to prominence and be the next thing, though.
Well, I mean, I think
like 70 almost years, I think. But
yeah, 70 something years.
I think there's an element where not necessarily just Godzilla and that sort of element of kaiju movies, but I think there's definitely the possibility of a kaiju movie resurgence, like creature features, right? I think that there's definitely an element where creature feature could come back and replace.
Well, I mean, there is room for the monster verse, right? Like universal monsters and stuff like that. The problem is that you have to have a good guiding hand. You have to have somebody who understands that and knows how to market it and knows how to do it with no money. And you have to go back to practical effects so that you don't have to spend any money. And I don't know if there are people who know that.
Godzilla -1 wasn't practical effects. That was CG.
It was a mix of the two. So, yeah.
Yeah, but like the question really is asking like what's going to be the next thing that is a cultural event every single time a movie comes out, like superheroes.
And I don't think there's anything that will be like that though.
Exactly. So like I think the closest thing you could possibly get is going to be some of the IPs of these video game films that will be coming up might have built-in audiences from generations of people from you know them all the way down to their kids. Might be one of the few I don't want to say genres because that's not the right word, but this the you know what I mean, like the niche or whatever that has that capability of becoming that. Whereas you know there's not many things that could do that. There's not many things where like you could be like, hey, I played the original Zelda and now my son is playing this, so we're going to go see the Zelda movie, and it'll be a family event.
Yeah, true.
It's the one thing you can kind of do that could kind of mimic what the comic book films did.
Yeah, true. Tom, what do you think? Oh, you kind of already did, didn't you? Already said what you thought would replace it.
Yeah, I love kaiju movies. I'm not, I would love to see them have a huge resurgence, but they have never been a thing to where I think you could make. The reason why I say this, and it's not because, again, I don't want anybody thinking I don't think that they're any good or anything like that. It's just unlike Westerns, superhero movies, sci-fi genre, action genre, you can't interject other genres into them and make them variable, right? Like, that's why the superhero movie craze worked for a while. That's why Westerns reigned for so long. Musicals, same thing, because you can interject so many different genres into them. Right? It's not just a Western. It's either a Western comedy or a Western drama or an action or a horror or whatever. And you can kind of do that a little bit with kaiju, but not many people are that into that kind of a thing. And Godzilla is an anomaly, right? In no other world would the Godzilla -1 had done as well as it did had it not been for the word of mouth and just the timing of it. I think also we are kind of reaching a point where I would say I would see us lean more into some more foreign entertainment, just like we were in the late 60s, because that's kind of what happened before when Godzilla came stateside, along with things like kung fu movies and Italian westerns and horror, because American audiences were getting sick and tired of westerns and musicals and the same old stuff out of Hollywood. So they wanted to see something a little bit, edgier or something a little bit different. And that's kind of where I think we're at now, more so than an actual genre taking over per se. But you never know. The only genre right now that I can see really kind of having any kind of possibility would possibly be video games, but that's always been on the cusp of. And it's always like one of those things where it's like one thing can hit, then 2 or 3 other things won't, and then it just goes away again. So
I think they may have cracked the formula though with the nostalgia baiting and stuff.
Maybe. I mean, some of those things have hit a point with like Sonic and Mario. Yes, I can see that's like one of those things where you're right with like nostalgia. Zelda might be able to benefit from that. But some of these other franchises that they're trying to come out with are ones they may rush just because they want to hit that craze. I don't know how well they're going to do. And that's usually what kills a lot of these things in their, in their wake as they're getting popular anyway.
Yeah. Nick, what do you reckon about this?
I kind of agree that I don't see it taking over. For sure the superhero stuff. I definitely think that was definitely like lightning in a bottle. But they are starting to you are starting to see more and more kaiju stuff. I mean, my most anticipated IP of anything coming out in 2024, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, actually has kaijus that are going to be in that game. So it seems like they are starting to play a part in a little bit of everything, everywhere, movies, TV shows, video games. So I can definitely see there being some resurgence, but I don't see it replacing all the MCU, when it was at its height or anything like that.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.